Okay, well, I can call us to order at 2:06.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And
So,
Melissa, do you want to just get us going here?
I would be happy to. Let's start, if it's okay. Well, I'm looking at Eric's agenda.
Yeah.
What do we need to do for roll call? Anything specific?
We're all here. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And who
Has
is all of
anybody
us?
seen?
Since I'm not on video, I can't see who's here.
Okay.
No, but I
I-
got, Janie, we can see your name. We know you're here.
Okay, but I can see, I can't even see a screen. So,
Well, I'm taking notes, Jamie, so don't worry about it.
okay, I just wondered who else was here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eric, Melissa, John, Jillian, yourself, and I am.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you.
Okay. I must have missed something. The next item on the agenda is the minutes of January 5th meeting. I haven't received those, but I think we need to approve them.
I think they just went out.
Oh, they just went out. Okay, I missed it. Motion to approve.
Well, if we haven't all seen them, we can't approve them.
I got it. Okay, let's move ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I got it like 5 minutes ago. I think I got it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
oh, all
I
right.
saw them
Okay, I
yesterday.
had,
Janie sent them to me. They seemed fine, but we
Oh.
really, to do this properly, we can proceed, but next time we'll just approve 2 minutes when we meet.
okay, okay. So based on the conversation, moving ahead, discussion of the campaign plans for 2022. Based on the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, Jillian, you weren't with us, but we got caught up yesterday via phone. So Jillian, and Jillian also watched the meeting from watched the first meeting. Can we start with just a quick review of what of the points that we discussed and approval? I just want to make sure that we are all still on the same page. We talked about the campaign and how we might slightly pivot to be more productive. We spoke at length about the benefits of beginning an annual fund. We began to discuss what that might look like. We talked about the database and what would need to happen within Little Green Light to make it a productive tool for an annual fund. And most importantly, we talked about the Friends. And the idea was that we would run the annual fund out of the Friends brand. And the rationale was the foundation does not have the name recognition or the identity or the branding that the Friends do. The Friends also have a donor base. So there's a group of people with whom we could begin. The Friends are already doing this. It would also clarify a lot out in the world. We would not have two entities soliciting people potentially at the same times. And we would avoid the confusion of the community not knowing who did what and where their money was going, to what their money might be going to. Is that everyone's understanding from the last meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we still interested in moving forward in this vein?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, here's the thing: if we can't get everything into one database, we're probably going to not get out of starting gate here. So
This is a critical point.
Yeah, I can't overestimate the importance of getting all the data in one spot.
Yes.
Melissa and I have started the.
I'm sorry, camera. Go ahead, Eric.
Melissa and I have started the process of working with Eva to get that information from the Friends. Am I still breaking up?
No, much better, Eric.
Oh, good.
I turned off my camera because I was frozen in a very unflattering position. I didn't want you to have to contend with that for the
Yeah.
rest of the call.
It looked like you were forever about to sneeze.
Yeah, it did. This pandemic cannot end fast enough. Okay, so let's start with talking about the very basics to getting started with this. Jon mentioned the database. This is absolutely where we have to begin. We need to merge with, the friends. I am assuming that they're keeping all of their records, all of their accounting in an Excel spreadsheet. If they had a subscription to Little Green Light, I would either see them as co-users on the account that I'm using. I can't imagine that the library would pay for 2 subscriptions to Little Green Light.
Well, the payment could easily be happening because neither entity would know it's happening.
I see.
You're better off seeing whether there's a commonality through a subscriber base.
Okay.
But we wouldn't have any way of knowing what the friends, I don't think the friends have gotten that sophisticated or they were pretty excited about having 170 contributions.
Yeah,
this
that's
year.
really good.
So that's nowhere near the scope of Little Green.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be shocked if they have it. I mean, Don put me onto Little Green Light. I'm not a database guy, but he was the one that suggested it because it's a confident system for a minimal price.
Yeah. It has
And
a
if
lot.
I could just interject, this is a little off agenda topic, but by my calculations, our annual premium is due this month.
Oh,
So Eric, either let's make sure that stays, that we're getting a bill, or are they maybe automatically charging us or something, but that is a January payable according to my records.
The insurance or the Little Green Light?
Actually, both.
Okay. I've got the bill for the insurance.
Okay.
Little Green Light, I think actually were paid up on because we had a couple points where we changed brackets as far as how many
that's
people we
right.
had entered in the database.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's just be sure we know what our renewal date is and correct premium, and we need to keep track of that.
Agreed.
Little Green Light would be our most important tool in this pivot for fundraising. We would run the majority of our communications through this database. Now, at the moment, the database is populated with patron records. So there is a record for every single patron of the library. So there is a record for Jack Meierhoff, there is a record for Kathy Meierhoff, and there would be, as an example, records for the Meierhoff children. All of that has to be consolidated so that one family has one record. That is going to bring us back down to the lower price range, I believe. The other thing that I'm noticing is that the records are not current. So we have old addresses in there. We have landlines. We're limited to what patrons want to share with us, what they want us to have, but we have got to make a very concerted effort to update this database. Jon told me about a service that cleans up databases and matches names with current addresses and contact information. I think it's worth looking into that, and I'd be happy to do it to get a cost for doing this. The other thing that we must do is make a push for all patrons to check in and update their information. We can do that via email. We can do that in off the shelf. We can do that via social media, and we can offer a number of ways to update it. We can put together a web form that they can go in and fill out. That web form then can be forwarded to me. I'll go into Little Green Light and update. They can call in and just give information over the phone. They can leave messages on the development line that's been established, that voicemail. But in order to have a robust database, we need viable contact information. So that's the first order of business.
I want to
And
raise,
it will be ongoing.
I have a kind of a procedural, strategic question.
Okay.
So the plan is to approach the Friends to get approval to combine the records into one
Yeah.
database, correct? Right?
Yes, we've got to combine efforts. Yes.
So one of my questions is, and I don't know the answer to this, is what would constitute, let's see, let me phrase it a different way. Who has the power to say, to pull that trigger? And my concern is, I guess I raised that with the concern that I don't want one person saying we're not going to do that.
Oh.
And that's the end of the road. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the Friends operate corporately in terms of their decision making, but you know, in the past we've hit a roadblock with the one person on other types of inquiries, and I don't want that to happen here, because that would be that's the end of the line.
Yep.
And you
That's
don't
a
want,
good question.
I don't want to have one person say we're not going to do that and then we're done. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
And John, to your point, I can see Melissa's last explanation of cleaning up the database as something that would be an unpleasant task to a lot of the Friends, to some of the Friends. So I think your point is well taken. We can't make a proposal and at the same time scare them off.
You mean it would be?
I will tell you that the decision about the fireplace was not unanimous, which is the first time I've known of the Friends doing anything
Really?
that was not unanimous.
Oh, really?
But this would be a big change. I mean, this is just record keeping. I think Ava would get it in a second. She'd realize that's what databases do all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there are some members who might just say, no, this is getting too complicated for us.
Well,
And it's separate from what you're asking too, isn't it? I mean, that's a whole nother thing versus joining the Friends in a like joint effort or.
One has to happen before the other. The
Mhm.
databases must be combined. If they're not interested in sharing names with us, so we can populate Little Green Light for the organization. It's not for the foundation. It's not for Friends. It's for the entire organization. One database for one organization. If they're not interested in collaborating on that, if the scope of work appears to them too cumbersome, and I am suggesting that it will not, because I will be doing that work. I will be doing that cleanup. However, if they don't feel like that's the direction they want to go, then we are dead in the water.
Well, can I put something in there? I thought that one of our first objectives as a group was to formulate an approach to the Friends that would
Yes.
be amenable.
Yes.
And,
Yes, Janie, you're right.
I think we're jumping the gun a little bit here. I mean, we have to figure out a way to approach them. And who was it so that they can't say no? And I think that was you that said that last night.
I did.
You know, so I
proposal
think we really
has
need
to
to
come
put some
first.
thought into that.
Yes.
Sorry?
So the proposal does have to come first, and I'm hoping that we can take a few minutes during this call to talk about exactly what we wish to pitch to the Friends. How do we see this looking, and what's the message? And then the database will be incorporated into that whole proposal. The idea, the goal of the proposal is to show the Friends that we are stronger together, that running the fundraising out of the Friends, and I say out of for lack of a better term, but under the branch of the Friends, We're doing that because they're branded. There's community recognition. They have a giving pool. People are accustomed to giving to the friends. We wouldn't have to reinvent an identity, which is what we have been trying to do these past couple of months with the foundation. So
Yeah,
I'm
you're
hoping
exactly
that this
right.
proposal,
Well,
thanks.
and a lot depends, I think, on, I mean, the goal here is to raise more money for the library. To be,
Yes.
and that's the bottom line.
Mhm.
If they buy into that, this should be an easy decision. My
Yes.
concern is whether that's their goal, maybe part of their goal, but part of their goal is the control part of distributing the funds. And that's where I'm just not sure. You know, I think, like you say, that it wasn't unanimous to give the money to the library or to the for the fireplace. How much of a factor is being able to decide where to give the money as part of the Friends identity?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, John. And it seems to me that's why it behooves us to figure out basically what's in it for them. I mean, you know, from the way we're describing this, it sounds like it's all an advantage to the foundation, and we have to pitch it in such a way that there will be advantages to them as well, and they won't lose any part of their identity. And I am a little worried that the control part of it, being able to pick and choose where they want to spend their funds, is a bigger part of what motivates them than maybe we are thinking. And I think what we need to really pitch is that, as John said, the ultimate goal here is to raise funds for the library.
That point's well taken. I think that that's something we do need to figure out, and that's got to be that's what we open with in the proposal. I understand that they're established and traditional, and I'm not interested in disrupting the machine. There are
right.
Our business would fit very nicely within the umbrella of their brand. I feel like it's common sense to fit in there.
Oh yeah,
but
you're preaching to the choir here. I completely agree with you. I'm just thinking of how it's going to be received, and
I agree.
I think you know, it's a crucial decision on both parts whether or not they decide to join us. What do we know about their history? I mean, a little flattery is, and who's going to approach them on this? That's the other thing. A bit of flattery cannot help. I mean, you talk about them being an old established group. When were they founded? And you know, what are some of the really neat things that they have done that we can say, we know you have been in existence for X number of years with, you know, Y number of board members, and you've done these 47 wonderful things for the library in the past, and we just want to see that moving forward. You know, it seems to me that might be the sort of a pitch.
Yeah,
I think
always
that's a
lead
great
with a
start.
compliment.
Yeah, I think that would be really well.
It's it's an opportunity for them to enhance their brand. But I mean, another nitty, I don't want to raise up a bunch of red flags, but another question I have is, if you give to the friends, where does that go? Do they have their own account somewhere?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not part of the library, right?
They're
No.
their own
I
organization.
mean, we get it eventually because
But
that's
they're their own 501c3 or whatever.
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So a lot of the questions that we're dealing with today have been kind of the kind of at the heart of the discussion as far as friends organizations versus foundations for libraries here in the area.
Mhm.
And you know, and a lot of the points are really at the heart of why the move has very much been away from friends organizations to foundations instead, for a lot of these reasons. That with a foundation, it's a lot more closely integrated with a library. You don't have to, you know, keep up with persuasion and face the possibility that the friends might, you know, place higher priority on their independence than on collaboration. You know, foundations tend to be pretty well integrated and able to function as, you know, part of the library's planning. So,
And the foundation can use the funds for the highest and best use as determined by the library and the board, rather than, you know, going hat in hand to an organization saying, would you consider funding this or that?
yes,
Which board do you mean, John?
I'm saying with the
You say
foundation,
the board.
the,
You're talking about the library board
Yeah.
or the Friends?
yeah, the library board. I'm saying gifts to the foundation become part of, can be used for the highest and best use of the library as determined by the library and the library board, as opposed to going to a separate organization and ask them, would you agree to fund this or that? And then having them consider it and, you know.
Well, I have to say the way that in the time I've been on the board, the Friends have evolved more towards just that model. I haven't, they don't really question any of the requests made by the library. They've been, in fact, even at
They do.
Saturday's meeting, Eileen asked, you know, Eric if he put together a wish list. Yes. So that seems, and in fact, if anything, they've actually given the library sort of an account to draw. I used to be item by item. If the library wanted, we asked for $162 for a whiteboard.
Yeah.
But now it's like a bulk of money is given and that's drawn upon. So there
Well,
has been much more, although we're talking about very small amounts, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more openness with the Friends right now.
Okay.
we have a good friends organization. There's no denying that. As Jillian was noting, they don't do it with everything, but they are still very capable of getting into the weeds at times on some of the requests that we bring them. Were you raising your hand, Jillian?
Yeah, I know that when they were talking, when the fireplace got proposed to them, they did bring up specifically that they see the foundation and the library staff as two separate things. So it might be beneficial to put in your proposal how like a certain amount of funds would then be dedicated to library, like other library improvements that are not strictly foundation improvements. 'Cause
That's
they had a
part of
lot
our proposal. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right, Jillian. That is part of the annual, one of the annual fund tactics is to be able to direct funds. That's something we have to decide as a steering committee, whether or not we want to get into that. And per Janie's observation, we need to figure out how we want to present that so that the friends can see benefit to them.
So how would we feel? I'm just thinking strategy now and how best to get over this hurdle. How would we feel if we said we want to leverage the Friends brand, all the good stuff that you've been able to create with that brand, and gifts to the annual fund would go to the Friends, so that it would not be in the foundation, it would be in the Friends, so they're not losing control of the money. Now I think that might be more palatable, at least at the outset, as opposed to saying we want to merge the databases and gifts are going to go to the foundation versus gifts to your account. I think that, to me, that sounds like it's going to be a takeover. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's going to fly.
No, I like that idea. I would actually like to leave I don't even want to use the words "the foundation" in this proposal. I don't want it to be about, we're pivoting. And I want us, if we can, to express interest in coming under the Friends umbrella. Not only would we benefit from their brand, and we're not looking to take over their program, we could work with them on how funds are delegated, but I'd also like to suggest how we could bolster their brand. We will bring more current events with Jillian. We will bring more social media with crowdfunding. We will bring more consistent communications, more frequent and consistent communications. And all of this would be at no extra or little extra effort on their part.
You got stewardship, recognition, receiving of gifts. There's all sorts of things that they should be doing, we should be doing, that aren't happening right now.
That's right. You're right. We don't know, maybe you can tell us, Eric, if Friends acknowledge year-end gifts in any way. Do they send?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
they send thank yous.
Yes.
They send out thank yous and acknowledgements. Yeah.
Okay. So that's something that we would want attached to an individual's record. It's giving history. That's what a database is for. Back to that database thing. That's really the linchpin here.
So I'm going to throw out some questions that I think we need to consider as we look at the plan, which I'm going to go right out and say, I'm not against. I just want us to be thorough and looking at what we're doing. I think part of the trade-off then of having the annual funds go to the Friends, and one of the central things that we need to consider at this juncture is really the organization and control. Specifically that if the funds go to the Friends, then unless we work with the Friends to arrange some sort of a change to management and oversight and how the Friends are functioning, then we would really be putting a lot of money and a lot of trust with them, and putting ourselves a little bit in a situation where that would be a bit outside our control. That they would get the funds and we would be dependent on their continued collaboration and cooperation on what we know that we need to do. So just throwing that out there because I think right up front that it's perhaps the salient concern that we really need to look at in terms of foundation versus Friends. That the Friends have this amazing brand that they've built up, but at the same time, unless we work with the Friends to change the way that the Friends operate, they're great folks. They've not gone rogue as other Friends organizations in the area have, but they are independent. They would have the authority to vote no on something that we wanted to do, and we would not have a veto on that or an override.
But we would still be ahead of where we are now. We would still be further along the road than where we are now. It's worth a shot.
What's been the experience with other libraries with Friends and foundations coexisting?
Well, observationally, as well as from usually eventually there's only one. Because of
one or the other. Yeah.
There's a
and
nearby
that's-
library that isn't doing so well with their Friends group.
Yeah,
Which one is
there
that?
are unfortunately a number of those stories in the area where it's friends groups that got a particular idea in their mind as far as how the money should be expended. I know Lake Forest Friends, Lake Forest Library, that there's, for all that they do there, that there's, a lot happening behind the scenes in terms of the conversation there with their friends group. So usually what often seems to happen is if the friends in the library are still on good terms when the foundation is created, eventually there just gets to be too much conflict, and there ends up being a one organization that dies out, or one that just becomes by common consent the group, and usually that is the foundation. For the reasons that I've mentioned, that the foundation as a vehicle offers greater control over the funds and resources that are gathered. When it's been done well, that is and can be a real merging of the existing enthusiasm and personalities and individuals that have been involved with the Friends and bringing them on board with the foundation. And I can't highlight enough. We've been really fortunate with our friends group.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we should and would be remiss in terms of the amount of money that we're looking to bring in, even on the annual fund, to not stop and consider that it is an organizational setup that has definitely had issues at many other organizations in the area. So
Okay, so what's stopping us at this moment from moving forward with the proposal for the Friends? What's the
I have a
primary?
few points I'd like to raise.
Okay.
please do.
I'm not trying to, I just think, I'm just gonna be very frank about a few things. I'm hearing a lot about the foundation making a bit of a last-ditch attempt to salvage our hopes for a robust campaign to benefit primarily the building portions of the library. I'm not hearing a lot about how this is going to help the Friends. I know the Friends well enough that I'm going to just share what I see objections. The first conversation about this several years ago, the stop of that conversation when Ava said, we don't want to do that because there's an IRS limit over 50,000. So that stopped the conversation. They immediately shut it down. They didn't want to mess around with anything complicated. Now we're talking about merging two organizations. Well, I don't know if we're talking about merging two organizations or taking one over. So that's got to be defined. But fair questions are, what is Melissa Williams' role going to be in We as Friends? Who's going to pay her salary? Who's going to pay for this little green light cost? What's going to happen to existing pledges? For example, Lake Forest Bank and Trust that has 2 more years of a pledge to the foundation. Does the foundation have any responsibility to that entity to share that there might be a change? I have no idea. John, you might know more about that.
Yeah.
And I also think of Kale. I don't think Kale is going to be an issue, but she has a pledge due this year for the Friends. So let's just use that as an example. If it wasn't Kale and it was a few years out, would that donor say, well, I don't want this to happen, therefore I'm not making my pledge? So I'm just thinking as a friend, I guess, for a moment.
Yeah.
They don't like cumbersome things. So
Who's we talk about the Friends?
What? I beg your pardon?
You mean the Friends don't like cumbersome things?
That's right.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, in Cal, specifically for Cal, we cleared that we can do the reading room kind of freestanding, regardless of the rest of the campaign. The purpose of creating a robust annual fund, which we do not have right now, is to create gifts at a higher level of annual fund giving, $1,000 and above, that can create major gifts down the road. We don't have any major gift prospects right now. We don't have a campaign.
No.
I mean, I want to
That's
be
true.
frank. We can't have a campaign without prospects. And the way you get prospects is to generate giving and involvement and commitment over time. You don't go from ground zero to $1 million or $1.2 million or $4 million without any prospects who have been
John,
called.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just anticipating a reaction.
Yeah, well, that's
You know, I don't have a problem with anything.
that's why we're saying we have to create. I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion, but we have to create a robust annual fund and an involved volunteer leadership in conjunction with that, and brand it so that we have people that are invested both with their time and their energy and their money in the future of the library. Without that investment, and I think if we get that, then people will be able to dream a little bit and say, you know, this isn't, what we've got right now isn't enough. What we got right now is just adequate. We need something grander than what we have. And I'm ready.
John, I think we're all on board with that, John. I think what Kathy's saying isn't that, you know, that isn't what we need.
Okay.
What she's saying is that what we've heard from the Friends to this point is that they don't want to do that.
I completely understand. And I think, you know, all the concerns you raised about control, I think are valid. If they have their own 501c3, then they have their own money. And we're always going to be hat in hand, no matter how good the cooperation is, saying, would you consider funding this? Or would you like another proposal? Whereas with the foundation should be determining what are the highest and best uses of funds to the foundation to propel the future of the library forward. That's different from asking another organization, would they consider funding this, or would they rather have a proposal funding something else? And then you depend on, they take a vote, and you know, I don't like that, because you don't have any control, and the foundation should have control of the funds.
John, you just said something that really made a point. Because I've been sitting here writing we, they, like who's going to be in charge, but they are in place. They have the infrastructure, let's say.
Yeah.
We have this appeal for a larger picture. And therefore, I think this year we could probably prove, if we see their list, that we brought donations to the Friends that they wouldn't have otherwise had.
I'm sure we did.
Melissa's contacts just funneled them there.
I'm sure that's true.
If we can show that our desires and our efforts will bring larger funding to their current organization, then it shows the benefits of both sides of this new dynamic.
But it's still,
and I think that's a pitch we have to really throw out there.
It still gets back to, where does the money go though? Does it go into their account, or is it coming to the foundation? And I think that's going to be the crux of the matter.
Yeah.
We can pitch them. We're gonna, you know, heighten their brand, and we're gonna help them. We're gonna cooperate, and the gifts will go to the Friends. They still then have the control of the funds, and the foundation doesn't, which, you know, may be a way forward initially, but it's not ideal. And
I have a question. Some of what you guys had been talking about 2 weeks ago was the tiers of giving.
yeah,
I mean, is that a way to separate some of that? You know, that the donor would be able to say what they are looking to put their money towards?
yes, there are two answers to that. One, tiers of giving give you an opportunity to create some recognition levels that don't exist right now. If you give $5,000 to the Friends or $100 to the Friends, it's all the same. So we have an opportunity to brand recognition at different levels. And Melissa and I talked about this morning. We could create different opportunities of restricted giving. So if people want to give to youth services or programming or unrestricted, I mean, this is basically 101 fundraising, but by offering some opportunities that that allow people to target their giving, you also have the chance of increasing their giving because they know it's going to go to, it's not going to go to turning on the light bulbs. It's going to go
Right.
to a specific purpose that they identify with and they care about.
So I guess I was just wondering if it would take some of that control out of the conversation.
It could be if the gift went to the friends, but it was restricted to yeah. I'm not sure they would go for that.
Okay.
We're getting into political stuff that I'm not privy to or it's out of my league.
Thank you for explaining though.
Yeah, but I think, well,
we don't know. I mean, we have some historical precedents, but we don't know how they're going to react until we propose it. Maybe the Friends Board is ready for to try something new. I don't want something that hasn't happened yet or some reaction that hasn't been shared to stop us. I'd like to attempt this and make very clear to the friends that we are open to hearing what they need. What do they want out of the deal? If we're both working towards the same effort, we're both entities are raising money for the library. How can we collaborate so that it's mutually beneficial and each entity is fairly represented? I think we can think of all sorts of problems that could come up to the plan. And while I think it's a great idea to prepare for that, to know that it's a possibility and prepare for it, I don't want it to stop us. And maybe the answer is just being very transparent at the get-go. I take Janie's point to heart in that we should certainly acknowledge the importance of the Friends Board to the library historically and how successful they have been and how important they are. I think one way to demonstrate how great they are is to get a rendering of the Stroh reading room with the Friends fireplace. We've got to put that up. That has got to be up. And when can we tell them that we are going to begin construction on that? The gift that you made has an immediate impact. Here's when it's coming together. Here's when it's going to start coming together. Thank you so much. We so appreciate your work and your consideration of us. We're coming back for more. We are not operating successfully alone. We want to piggyback. We want to hitch our wagon to your star. Is there any merit into just being very open, not trying to sell them a bill of goods, but just being very candid about why we're pivoting and why we want to partner with them. We are telling them that they are the stronger entity. We are telling them we want to collaborate. We're telling them that we don't want to disrupt what they've created. So work with us, come to the table, and let's figure something out so that we build each other up and we bring in more money for the library.
I think that approach is more persuasive than starting out or even getting it all into the database jargon.
Okay.
Because I just don't think that other route is going to work. But what you just said makes a lot of sense. It's very practical. It's very non-threatening. It's very positive. But I promise you, there are 4 or 5 ladies who are just not going to enjoy any kind of organizational reorganization of their little group when it comes to, especially anything technological. That's a little uncomfortable.
I can appreciate that.
I do have a question, just a general question as a member of the foundation. Will the foundation continue or is this going away?
That's a good question.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
We should probably know that because they're going to ask us that.
Well, this morning, John brought up a really good point about anonymous gifts. John, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, the reason, you look at think of the public universities, all the public universities have a foundation which is responsible for raising money to support the university. The reason they do that is because they want to keep, maintain the privacy of the donors. And with public institutions, like a university, like the University of Illinois, Wisconsin, donors, if you gave directly to the university, that would be subject to discovery as public records. And so I'm not sure the same thing applies to the Friends because they've got their own, 501c3. But that's the reason to have a foundation, I think, with respect to the library, because I'm assuming gifts directly to the library without a foundation would be discoverable in some way by the public. And I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of why the universities have foundations, is to keep the privacy of their donors. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm seeing quizzical looks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I guess I'm not, I don't think about things like that in terms of anything other than a political campaign.
Yeah.
Like the black money.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
Well, but if you wanted to give to Illinois, you would give to the foundation. You would give to the
Okay.
Illinois Foundation.
Right.
You wouldn't give directly to the university.
correct, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the reason, because they want to keep, they don't want to have their donor records be discoverable by the public. And they don't
So-
want to have, and they don't want to have the government controlling, what they're doing too, so.
So
So-
it still doesn't answer my question of whether our foundation would continue, or would this be a merger of two entities, just a renaming of us as now part of a big Friends group? Or
Well-
would the Friends consist of a side show of the foundation?
And I think part of the answer is if the foundation did not continue, then all the gifts that would be coming in to support the library would go to the Friends.
Yes.
That would be the only receptacle to receive them, because if they went directly to the library, then you run into the donor privacy issue that you don't have with the foundation, I assume. That makes sense?
Well, I get what you're discussing in terms of legality and privacy. I don't get what my next door neighbor thinks about when she writes a check to either the Friends or the foundation.
She doesn't care,
She just wants the money to go to the library. So
right?
is there still going to be one or the other, or is it going to be a checklist of, books, children, or new building? Are there going to be two 501c3 supporting the library? I guess that's.
I don't know. I think the whole idea of having a kind of a discovery meeting with them
Okay.
makes a lot of sense, because I think we're trying to answer some questions we don't really know the answer to.
Yeah.
And we
And
don't
actually,
know.
to my point, it could, one or the other could fade away over time. So it's not like this decision has to be made right now.
Yeah, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but people move on with structures, and whatever the stance might be now might be totally different 5 years from now
Sure.
with a different constituency, and it's possible in time they wouldn't want to deal, and they wouldn't want to have all the organizational stuff that goes with managing a supporting organization of the library. They'd rather have it done by the foundation.
Right. I think frankly, the Friends, they've begun to take on a newer membership, but unless they do that and they understand that, then they're not going to be here in 5 or 10 years.
Right.
So they're doing a good job of updating,
And
which is a great time for us to make
Yeah.
this proposal, I think.
yeah, that happens to many organizations. The control element kind of moves on after a while, and And you don't have the same situation that you have with people that want to maintain the control and the ownership of the organization. They just, they move on. But I think, an initial meeting to bring out all their feelings and possible objections makes a lot of sense, because then we'll better know how to pitch a possible partnership with them.
I like that idea.
So can I jump in?
Please do.
You too, Janie?
Yeah, I'm here.
I have a lot of concerns about this. I think while the Friends have a nice list of names, that the organization and the energy that we need to really go places is not there. And most critically, neither is our ability to control the tempo. We've spent a lot of time talking about, not just today, but over the years, about persuading the Friends of this or that, and how we can fit them in and persuade them of a role here or there. Unless there's an organizational change there as to how they're set up, I would expect that we would just continue to have to do that, making these pitches as to where things needed to move, which strikes me as incredibly inefficient. It would be so much if we could just do what we needed to be done, would be much preferred. And I genuinely don't think in terms of what we're talking about right now, giving up in terms of the ability that the foundation has to move and pursue its goals as it decides. In terms of what we would be giving up on that front, I don't think that we would be gaining enough in terms of what we would get back from the Friends. They've got a nice list of names, but the cardinal rule with the Friends and all the years that I have known them and all their incarnations has been that they're not overly ambitious. They are they like to talk about getting new members, but they don't spend a lot of time talking about really expanding their operation. There's never been a lot of enthusiasm there for the sort of boisterous campaign that we're talking about needing. I don't know. I do kind of feel really that partnering with the Friends could potentially be us putting an obstacle in our own path. We don't and we cannot control them.
But we're not looking to control them, Eric. We're looking
exactly.
We want to collaborate with them. We can't do this as a foundation. We cannot have two fundraising entities coming out of the library right now.
That's not in debate. So that's very much why we're having this discussion.
Well, maybe
I don't know. I'm not.
Eric, I have the same concerns. If I had my druthers, the foundation would take over all the fundraising and the Friends would sunset. That would be
And we
ideal.
could do that.
Well,
it would not necessarily be a fun thing to do, But while they are an independent organization, they are an organization that's set up to exactly one goal, which is supporting the library. So
So are you talking about the possibility of this is just conversation? It would be
Yeah.
possible to dismantle the Friends?
I am aware of at least 2 libraries where what they did was they took a look at their organizations and the way that they were set up and simply went and said, this is too convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
This is not very efficient in support of the library. We've studied this problem. This is how it's going to be. These are the organizations we're going to have, and that's how it's going to be done. And
could we migrate some of the Friends into a foundation board? I mean, could we take those that are diehard Friends members and just say, now you're foundation members. So you're still working in the same capacity, you're still involved, you're still making some decisions.
For name recognitions, wouldn't it be better to do the opposite?
Yes. Yes.
Nobody'd ever know. I mean, it would just be if the Friends would accept a 5-year plan, a migration of the merging of the foundation and the Friends and make this a business proposition, just not sitting down with a bunch of ladies making chit chat. Make it with the purpose of, and have very specific goals in terms of who's going to do what, when, and how, and make it positive and non-threatening.
Yes.
I'm jotting things like the advantages to the Friends, to the library, whether we call it foundation or library, are huge because they have the name recognition, they have the donor base, they've got it going. We can improve it. The benefit to the Friends are significant. I'm looking at Jillian and I'm thinking of the marketing, the communication, the social media, the face in the community. It's a lot more than just one little television in the back of the library saying thank you for the new computer chairs.
That's true.
We can really pitch them at a much higher scale within the community and everything we do, which we're trying to do anyway. And one of the Friends last week at the Saturday meeting said something about, well, I mean, they're really tickled when we thank them for something. Well, we could thank them on a grand scale if these two organizations were working together. So why not, in gratitude to their dedication to the library, maintain the name, but bring on the leadership and the goals of the foundation, and do it with a gradual idea, but with the definite idea that who's going to be in 2 or 4 or 5 years, what it's going to be.
I like the idea of a merger. The legal mechanism for merging 2 501c3s is there.
Yeah.
There's all the paperwork that we would need there to combine 2 into 1. And I think then that, pulling together 2 organizations into 1, we would not only eliminate the confusion that we absolutely need to get rid of, but, we would have the opportunity to create a hybrid where we could, really build something with all of the resources that we need in order to be a very successful organization. Does this still sound like what you'd been planning, Melissa? I'm feeling really bad in this meeting, just to be clear, because
no.
I have I have concerns. I have things I've been thinking about, and I want to share those.
Yes.
But at the same time, I want to support Melissa because you've been amazing.
I appreciate that.
Our professional, our ace in fundraising.
Thank you, Eric. Please don't feel badly. I feel like the purpose of these meetings are to air all things that we've been thinking about. We have to have this conversation. We have to figure out what we're doing in the short term as well as the longer term. We've got to figure out a way to create a sustainable giving program. I think that the writing is on the wall. Eric, I think we're getting to a point where if we can't figure out a way to move forward that is productive I can no longer take a salary from the library. I can't. I mean, and I believe everyone on this call would agree. So I'm interested in just putting in some, I always use the word fence posts, some fence posts so we can begin some kind of giving program at the library. An annual fund and the tactics of an annual fund make the most sense. Combining our efforts with the Friends brand also makes the most sense. If we can't start that conversation, if the Friends are just not interested, then we don't have a program. Then I think it's time to really go back to the drawing board.
I love the idea of a merger. Bringing in some of their leadership and
Yeah.
and having everything go into one pot. And they would still retain, if you bring the leadership members aboard, they would still have some say so and control on how the funds are going to be used. And it could provide the initial leadership team of the new annual fund leadership that we hope to grow. In the long run, our success is going to be largely determined on our ability to involve volunteers in a significant way, both giving and in other ways as well, so that they're invested in the future of the library.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to say to someone, look, where the Friends are kind of reorganizing, we'd love you to join the Friends. There's movement that, you know, some of the members will be probably leaving or retiring at some point in time. And so there's going to be movement, it's growth. It's already there and it's doing something. Yeah. It's not a group of 5 people that are invited to a coffee in an empty room where they know they're going to get in there and tagged with a bunch of things they have to do that they don't really maybe want to do or didn't know how to do. Yeah. It's because it's there and it's got a place, and that gives the Friends the knowledge that, hey, they can have some influence in the selection process as well, of building the kind of key organization that both the Friends and the foundation would want to work towards. And and I do think keeping that name is really important. And if you take somebody's name over, you got to give a little bit. There's no doubt about that.
For sure.
So
we could even pitch it as the Friends leaders. We want the Friends leadership to provide the leadership for the annual fund of the foundation that we're creating.
And here are our goals for the annual fund. I mean, tell them what they are.
Yeah. Don't
just leave it vague.
No, we would really spell things out in the proposal. We would talk about what we were thinking, what kind of tiers we were thinking about, maybe even apply some kind of communication calendar to it so they could see rather than just kind of hear an abstract idea of what this means to their day-to-day lives.
I think Melissa might have frozen.
I really like the combination of Kathy's idea and Melissa's approach. I thought that like a combination between the two to show and emphasize what they'd benefit from that kind of thing. And I also think that they might respond fairly well to like a 5-year plan versus an open-ended discussion. I like that idea. I thought that sounded really interesting as far as well, this is really important, and the campaign and the building and the improvements that we're trying to make, but it's not gonna always be this way. Maybe, you know, after a certain period of time, we kind of reassess where we're at in the process, and you know, I don't know, they might respond to something temporary.
And you know, I think we go in with flattery and all of the thanks that the Friends have very much earned for all of their years of work, but I think we have to go in as well with a lot of honesty, as we've already discussed. I think at a couple points that you know, that we believe strongly that this is what needs to happen in order for, you know, this very important, very necessary fundraising campaign to happen and to really get going. And frame it in terms of what it really is, which is a need, rather than something where we're posing to them like, hey, don't you wanna? If you don't, it's fine. But make really clear where we're at, which is like, we really need you guys.
Yeah, and
Jump
a
on board,
backhanded
deliver this work.
compliment is, hey, we started out talking to the friends because we saw all your contributions. We saw that you were an opportunity for us. You weren't interested. This is what we've done, and we've accomplished. We haven't been sitting around twiddling our thumbs. We've accomplished a few things. We have some donors. We've raised money. We've had a fundraiser. We're building a room. We're making improvements. But we know now from our outreach with great guidance that we have gone as far as we can go as a standalone. So we're coming back to our original idea of working with the friends, and we're a little more prepared and we have better ideas, and you do too. And let's just make it happen.
Hey, Eric, a legal question I don't know the answer to. You've got 2 existing 501c3s. Do those both go away and you create a new one, which might be more palatable to them than as opposed to theirs just sunsetting and the foundation being the surviving one? And maybe you can find out from one of your colleagues in other libraries what they did when this happened. I don't know the answer to that.
There's some pretty robust legal mechanisms in place where you can, where you have the option to either combine 501c3s, you can subsume one 501c3 into another, you can combine them in a way that they create a new entity. So there's the mechanisms that are in place as far as doing it a variety of different ways. It's really going to come down to, I think mostly what would be most comfortable for everybody involved.
I'm
what
just
would
thinking
be,
it might be more palatable for them if there was a combination rather than a extinction.
yeah, definitely. And I think that's, to be emphasized, that we're pulling together. We're not like, we're not engaging in
Not a takeover.
organizational Darwinism.
Yeah.
Trying to do some hostile takeovers or anything like that. It's
Right.
It's a collaboration. It's pulling together and for a big and important reason.
Okay.
Have we officially talked ourselves into
Something.
A
into
black
something
hole.
resembling a plan on this?
Let's talk
Yeah.
about next steps. Let's
That's what
talk
I was gonna
about,
ask.
let's talk about tomorrow. Shall I start to draft a proposal in prose by way of the very conversation we would have with friends? Shall I put something together for this group to look at to make sure that the tone and timbre is exactly where we want to be in front of them?
Yeah.
Shall we also simultaneously see if we can't get on their agenda? I would love it if Kathy and I could begin the conversation when the time is right for them.
They're not meeting till April 9th.
They're not meeting until April 9th.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think we should, I don't think this is a good meeting, friends meeting discussion, because there's too many
Okay.
people there. It would be
Okay.
better if we could somehow engage, ideally Ava and Eileen.
Okay.
From the sound of, they were talking about their letters and their thank yous, it sounded like Ava really reserves Monday through Friday for her job, and she does
Okay.
friends work on the weekends. So I
Okay.
could certainly, I can be available on a Saturday morning if she wants to do that. I am going the month of March.
Okay. We have got to do something before March, people.
Yeah.
I agree.
So is that, and I'd also, we didn't talk about this during the meeting, But if this is something we're interested in pursuing, regardless of what happens with the Friends, the webpage has to change. So the content on the page has got to be updated with however we wish to proceed. And so I go back to the beginning of this meeting with my request to nail down some messaging. And again, I'm happy to take a stab at it if you think it would be useful. We've got to update the webpage. So if you think that if we're certain enough about giving this 100% of effort, then I would suggest that we start to craft that message.
I'm sorry, can you just bear with me? Are you, so we're gonna suggest on the website that these changes are taking place before we've talked to the
No.
Friends about it?
I think what I am suggesting is that we would talk about how our giving program looks. So, you know, when we were strictly capital campaign, we were in the quiet phase, and we talked about the various elements of the capital campaign. I think now we would talk about giving and maybe suggesting that if you give at a certain level, you're a member of this giving society, and you can delegate your money to this or this. Just kind of spelling out how we're going, our tactics, how we're changing this a bit. But if you,
I think
Sounds
one
like
of
we're putting the horse before the cart.
well, I mean, one of the things I think we're going to need to do is, like we made 4 years ago, we drafted a case statement for the big campaign. You know, along with what we've been talking about today, I think we need to craft a case statement on why support for the annual fund is important and why does it matter.
okay,
In other words, if I give to the annual fund, why should I give to the annual fund? What difference does it make?
yeah,
I think we need to explain that in a persuasive way. It doesn't have to be 16 pages, but to give people some idea of what's the incremental value in my giving to the foundation, making a gift to the foundation beyond what I'm just paying in my tax dollars to support the library. So I don't think we've done that yet, but I think that could be a critical element of having a successful annual fund. How do we explain what difference giving to the annual fund will make in terms of the impact on the library beyond just what's coming in through the tax revenues?
right. Exactly, John. We
It's
talked about this during.
making the case, the rationale
Yes.
for why it makes a difference. And that could be, it doesn't have to be that long, but something on the web. And, it wouldn't be just the web, it's going to be in our communications as well. Here's
That's
why
right.
your gift to the library makes a difference, because X, Y, and Z,
That's right.
So it's creating a rationale for giving, for why giving makes a difference. Why does it matter?
That's a good exercise for all of us. That's a good exercise for me to do and share with all of you, regardless of what happens. So shall we proceed that way? Figure out a meeting with Ava and Eileen. Kind of draft how we will
Melissa?
approach that. Yes?
I know you're friendly with Claire and a few other members of the, let's call it the executive committee.
Yes.
Should this meeting include anyone beyond Ava and Eileen?
I guess I would defer to you and ask you if that would seem to undermine Ava and Eileen's authority. So are we cherry picking people that we would like to hear the proposal? I think it would help us. So I think if Claire had the time, she would join us, and I think she would be in favor of this.
Well, I know she is secretary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the president and the treasurer. Is there a vice president, Eric?
Yeah, that's Lindsay Bornholt.
Okay,
And I would say just include everybody, all 4 of the executive
Yeah,
board members.
I think having Claire and Lindsay would be extremely helpful to us.
Yes.
yeah, and I don't think that's exclusionary to anyone else. I mean, that's the executive group of the board.
Okay, so that would make sense then. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to speak with the 4 of them and just see where it goes. Let's just see what the initial reaction is.
And could
And
you tell me
honestly-
Lindsay's last name, please?
Bornholt.
Go ahead, Eric.
Bornholdt.
Thank you.
And honestly, if we can't persuade Claire and Lindsay, then, you know, we probably don't have a hope with the full Friends group anyway.
Mhm. Agreed.
Because they're, I would say, definitely the most dynamic and forward-looking, along with a couple of the other newer members
Great.
in the group. So
Melissa, let me know if you need help with anything.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you. I do. I mean, any web, we've got to focus on the website, regardless of what the Friends decide or what we do as a foundation. That web page has got to be updated, and I'd love to learn how to do that so that I can
do you
be
have the keys
independent.
do you have the keys for that yet?
No.
So I've talked to Martha as of yesterday. She's planning on training you individually, Melissa.
Oh, all right. Very good. Thank you.
So that's
Okay.
that's in action already.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, I would just hesitate to make the kind of changes that we may have to make in another 60 or 90 days. We've had so many changes, and what's the library doing? I'm beginning to run out of explanations for why we change around so much. So I think updating it, being forward thinking is great, but I want to say this and then we take that off and say something else in 2 months.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting that we change the name. I'm not suggesting that we rebrand or disclose anything about a merger. But there's got to be some more compelling language on the webpage. That's all.
It'd be
Yeah,
a
I
good
like
place
John's
to,
case statement idea.
the case statement, and it'd be a good place to advertise everything that we're doing with the quiet reading room.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that's already planned, that's happening. The information that Melissa put together about Cal, I mean, there's a lot that we can put there without committing to anything greater
Great.
that would,
The press
we would
release
have
is
to.
on this page.
That's
Yeah,
a good
all
point.
that. There is a donor spotlight on the page with Cal and her press release. So that's an element that would stay the same. We wouldn't change that. It would
But
be
we-
so nice to put a picture of a rendering on the webpage.
Yeah,
But we
Eric,
can post updates too, like it can be an active space that, you know,
Yeah.
shows people what's
It
happening
should
at the
be.
library.
It should be
Yeah.
an active space.
When we did our last renovation, that was really what we did, is we had the initial page as far as like the program and the plan and what it was going to be. And then that, you know, it had a scroll on the side that was regular updates once the project got underway. So I think something like that, yeah. I'm excited. Anybody else excited? I'm excited.
No, not excited.
No?
Eric,
No.
to Melissa's point, I want you to call Sean tomorrow and get that, tell him that we need that rendering yesterday.
Yeah.
For advertising, for marketing purposes. And if he doesn't call
Yeah.
you, call Joe and let him know.
Yeah.
For whatever good reason, there's a delay and we need it fixed because we're behind schedule now.
I called Sean this morning,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Well, if
I
he
don't
doesn't
know.
get
And
back
is
to you,
this-
he's sending you a message. Talk to someone else.
We should probably update at least Cal with the
Yeah.
breaking ground change if there is one.
So Melissa, what would get you excited?
Well, some friends approval. I hope that the friends think that this is a slam dunk, the way I'm hoping they will. But this is our best hope, and I really believe in this. So I'm motivated to do it properly. So I prefer the word motivated over excited.
It should be a win-win.
Yes, yes.
So let's put a timeline. Shall we put a timeline to this? When would you like to see a proposal? As soon as I'm finished? I mean, our case study. As soon as I finish it, I'll send that out to the group for you to review independently. I'm noticing I'm not getting a lot of replies to my emails. I wonder if they're too long. Are they too clunky?
I'll be honest with you. After the last meeting, I was actually quite confused, and then through the follow-ups, because we had as I pointed out at the library board meeting, there were so many meetings with Melissa that I really wasn't sure if we were all going in the same direction on some of them.
Yeah.
I'm much more comfortable having this committee meet and making plans
Okay.
than deferring to that committee or finding out that committee met or whatever. So if we could just be, if it's so, I mean, unless somebody objects to that, I guess we have this this is our steering committee, is that right?
Yes.
So we're going
Yes,
to call
it
the
is.
steering committee, and in lieu of other committees, this is the committee that's right now involved in fundraising, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that works for me. So I'll know which emails to communicate with. That's fine.
I think we're kind of in a very pivotal spot that we probably should meet fairly regularly.
Good point, Jillian.
And when are we meeting next?
Well, we set them up as every other Wednesday initially.
Yes.
Is that enough?
That's kind of a slower pace, but I don't want to dominate anybody's schedule.
Well, I'd rather front load February so that I can have an opportunity to meet with these people before I'm not available. So I'm free next Tuesday.
Oh, good point. That's right. We lose Kathy.
Mhm.
Don't forget we lose Kathy. So would it be reasonable for the short term while we have Kathy to meet weekly? Could we meet weekly Wednesday afternoons, an hour, and then a hard stop after an hour?
I could do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
So February 2nd, 2 o'clock.
No, January 26th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking. Thank you, Jillian.
You're welcome.
Good. We have one more week. I'm sorry. That's good news.
Mhm. Okay, so we're saying January 26th, 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. I will send you something, the case study, in advance of the next meeting. And from that, if we all approve and we like that, then that will segue into the proposal for the 4 friends.
Good.
You like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we've got a good plan. I appreciate everybody sticking with this. Because I think we got through a lot, and I feel much more optimistic and positive than I did an hour and a half ago. So thank you for that.
Good.
It's complicated.
Yes.
It is complicated. But if we can get through these initial stages, just these initial understandings, and just peel these first few layers off the onion, we can make something sustainable. It doesn't have to be complicated. This is going to be a journey. This is a marathon.
Well, I'm excited about meeting with hopefully Lindsay and Claire, because I think getting some fresh voices into the conversation is very good. And
Yes.
it really shores up Eileen to then make a proposal to her larger group.
Yeah.
If she knows, if she's heard the conversation, it's not just one-on-one with Eileen. She can absorb it from around her and
Yeah.
be fortified with that information. So I
Right.
feel good about that.
Agreed.
We're really talking about growth, right? Which is the theme of the capital campaign. I mean, we're talking about growing the library, growing our fundraising. And if we are working towards the same goal, then we should have a slam dunk.
Melissa, one more thing, if I may, to your point about
Yes.
Cal. I wasn't ignoring that because I've been thinking about her a lot.
Okay.
I'd like to wait a week and review the draft of your case study, and then I'd be glad
Okay.
to talk it over all with Cal.
Oh, thank you. Let's plan on that.
Okay.
I don't, I was thinking about Cal overnight, and I thought I would just drop her an email to say hello, not to get into all the murky details that we're in right now, but just to say hello, and that looking forward to seeing the Stroh Reading Room getting underway. I just think I think it would be nice to extend some more warmth from the library, because I personally haven't talked to her since November.
Oh, yeah, we kept in touch a lot. I haven't spoken to her since the new year. And actually, because I've been thinking that we would get some information on this room, which I'm getting a little annoyed with. So, and she, I'm sure, is getting annoyed with it. So I'll be happy to bring her up to date after we meet next week.
Kathy, can I ask you, has the fireplace style been determined?
I think so. Eric, you help. I think we've narrowed it down to one or two. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Eric?
we've gotten reasonably specific on it. It's not like down to one specific design yet.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be getting, materials and samples and things here at the library, and that seems just to never have happened. So
Yeah, I
don't know
think
what's
that's
going
held
on.
up the renderings because they wanted the rendering to show the type of chairs and the shade of the carpeting, and then the wall finish, whether it's all brick or whatever surrounding the fireplace. So those, I'm sure that's what they're waiting for. I still think they could put together something, but we got to talk to Eric and I'll get working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The word out on the streets via our press release is that we're planning to break ground, begin work on this reading room in February and March.
Well, what I told the Friends on Saturday was that we had hoped to have our plans and ready to go in March.
Okay.
And that probably isn't going to happen because I'm actually looking right here at the original schedule from the Friends, which we would be in mobilization right now and construction in February, move-in in March. I knew that was never going to happen, but I'd like to at least see that mobilization happening in the next 2 weeks or so. So
Yeah.
we need to get working. So obviously it's hopefully construction in March, but who knows with material. I mean, I don't know. I gave them the March date because that's what I had hoped for. But
I think that was smart.
So, but it's a good question. I think Cal would be very happy to go back and look at a couple of photographs. She knew what she wanted fireplace wise.
I got that impression.
Yeah, and even if we impose that, we did have a rendering from a few years ago. If we impose that design, would that be sufficient if we had a somewhat inadequate or inaccurate rendering just based on fine points of furnishings and so forth? Or do you want the way it's going to absolutely look?
I would love just to have something celebratory.
Okay.
I don't care if it's a waiting room at O'Hare.
Yeah.
I think we've got to put something celebratory up. In a few short months, we're going to begin breaking ground on a reading room. This is a big deal for us. This is a real gain, and you're going to be able to use this shortly and enjoy it. So
yeah, then Eric, I think we should ask them right now. We want and tell them we're disappointed with this delay. Right now, we need the original rendering of the room. Remember, if you remember, it had a quilt. Take off the quilt, put a fireplace on that wall, and send it to us. And that's the reading room.
Yeah.
If they can impose the door that has the, and they do just, it's all CAD computer stuff. Just push a few buttons and
Right.
let's get it.
Okay,
Just something that I can print to poster size and say, here we go. We're on our way.
Absolutely.
all right. Do we have other items for the discussion today? I think we've, time-wise, probably ran as long as pretty close to as long as we ought to.
Thank you, everybody, for your endurance. Thanks for all of this.
Okay,
John, thanks especially.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
so motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
Motion from Kathy, second. Anyone?
Second.
Second.
Kathy motions, John seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Everybody
Thanks,
stay
everybody.
well.